Have I been muted the whole time? It keeps going back and forth. I don't know what's going on with my mute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I don't know what's going on, friends. Maybe I was muted. Maybe I wasn't muted. But welcome. I'm having all kind of technical difficulties today.
Sunspots. Blame it on the sunspots.
I'll do that. I'll do that. And we got a lot of good questions today. And Greg is apparently racing to fix some machinery, before a storm comes. And so he's not with us today. And we have a lot of great questions here. So I thought we could do those. But I have one question, if I could be very selfish and just ask you the first one. The first one. You read an article a long time ago about, just explaining the paperwork and all of these things. And you were discussing our personal indemnity number, and you referred to, those registered mail red numbers. So it's like the two letters, like a RF, and then a 123, 123, 123, and then a US. That number as our personal indemnity number. Is that because in the beginning, like maybe before the LRO, when you guys were doing your paperwork, were you like mailing your registered, like your 928, were you sending it registered mail back to yourself and that became the number?
No, actually, what it is that you have a number that is part of the registered mail.
Mm-hmm.
And by buying and using that postage
Yeah.
associated with that number,
Uh-huh.
you have claimed ownership of something that's registered, right?
Yeah, because you send it to yourself, it goes through their postal court, they stamp it. That's what you mean, right?
Well, yes, there's that, but it's also valid when you say send a correspondence.
Yes.
You have really truly taken possession of this registered vessel, right? And
Right.
now you're sending it through the mail in their registered jurisdiction, right?
Yes.
So that's what that's about.
But who do you send that to? Do you just send it to yourself? And is that what we just do? Like I could just send my 928 package to myself and just that way it goes through the system and I have that number now?
You can do that. People have done that in the past, and it's one way that you have of proving that you did this, right?
Correct.
It's a form of registration. It's called a registration by record. Okay.
Okay.
Now, we don't want to be registered ourselves, but we do want to have control of registered instrumentalities that are under our control. Okay. So you can also use that registered mail number as a vessel that you're under control of because you bought it and you assigned it and you did everything to make use of it. You, for example, when you send a letter and you use that particular registered mail label number.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way of being in the system, but not of the system, having control of something that is a registered instrument, which is, the item number, right?
Right.
Without you being registered.
Perfect. Well, this was part of our law study last night, and that was the one question that everybody had at the end because we were like, where do we get that number? And so now we're all going to make sure we do that. But thank you for answering that for us. All right. So Lenny wants to know, she said, we had a speeding ticket in our assembly. She did not cross the bar. Many assembly members were on the Zoom call. The judge entered a plea for her and set a trial date. What to expect next?
Well, first you object to the judge making a plea because they're practicing law from the bench. They don't have any right to do that. They have no authority to enter a plea for you. They're not your trustee. You didn't appoint them as your trustee. So what are they doing? They don't have a right to enter a plea of not guilty. Your plea, if you were to make a plea, would be that you are innocent. Okay? So the first thing you want to object to is the judge practicing law from the bench and entering a plea for you.
Kings and queens don't plea or beg for mercy or anything like that, right?
Right. And you don't want to be engaged in their system, right? You're not naturally subject to the king or the queen, and they're pretending that you are. So, one of the ways of breaking the pretense is simply by observing that the judge was practicing law from the bench, which is improper as hell, uh, by entering a plea for you that you did not make.
So
That's
isn't this something they could address in writing, Anna, so that it would, I mean, like, I don't think we're supposed to enter their courts. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jesus said, do not enter their courts, right?
when you enter their courts, you grant them jurisdiction, so you don't want to enter their courts.
So maybe a testimony in the form of an affidavit would be appropriate.
Right.
All right, you guys, we have to be law students here. Anna's been teaching us law.
Everything everything that we have to do in terms of answering their summonses and all that kind of stuff, and not being in contempt of court, can be done in writing. It should be a writing addressed to the clerk of court.
The pen is mightier than the sword, right, Anna?
The clerk is actually the trustee. The clerk assigns your case to the judge and it makes the judge their assign. But the clerk is actually the one that is supposed to be acting as the trustee over the public trust that they've brought to trial. Now, are you a public trust? No. Don't let them pretend that you are.
You can't even appear in their court because we're not dead.
Right.
We're alive. I mean, honestly, we just need to go there and say, "Hey, I'm alive."
It's best not to even go there and just to conduct your business, whatever your business is, by mail.
Yeah.
Now, in 99.9% of all traffic cases, they're going to be addressing you through a municipal court, and the defendant is going to appear as a all capital letters name, as a municipal estate trust or a municipal public transmitting utility or a municipal special purpose vehicle. It doesn't matter, because in all of those cases, what you're going to see right now, what they're doing is public transmitting utilities. In virtually all of the cases that I've seen, the plaintiff is a all capital letters court, and the defendant is an all capital letters person. Since the bankruptcy subsumed the estates, they've been sending out all of their correspondence to municipal persons using a middle initial. Well, stop a minute. We know from the Chicago Book of Style and from the American Bar Association Style Guide and various other publications, we know that the all capital letters name refers to either a corporation or a dead person's estate. And how did you become dead? Well, when your mother waived your infant decedent estate, that word came up as decedent, right? when you waive an interest in a property, then it creates a decedent estate as if you had died. Okay? So that's where the presumption of the person's death enters in. It's not you who died, it's a person. It's a legal fiction entity named after you. Okay? Well, anyway, they're going to try to address you as if you were a franchise of, get this, a bankrupt Puerto Rican electrical utility corporation. Now, I know this makes no sense, but this is what they're doing. And so when you see your name as defendant and it says something like Paul V. Snow, you know, your name is Paul Victor Snow, but it could be the way that they're going at it, it could be Paul Valentino Snow, it could be Paul Ventura Snow, it could be Paul Vitti Snow. Who knows what this V is? I mean, it isn't even set up as an initial, it's just a V sitting there. So you have no idea, and neither do they, which potential Paul Snow they're talking about. And the very first thing out the door is, I did not give the judge permission to enter a plea for me or to act as my attorney. Second thing out the door is, I don't know who this person that you're addressing is. I don't know if it's a similarly named estate trust or if it's a transmitting utility, and I don't know with any exactitude. Are you actually trying to address me, or are you trying to address someone named Penelope Matilda Patterson, or Penelope Marie Patterson, or Penelope um, Margaret Patterson? Or you see, they just kind of throw this out. It's like a lure. It's like a fishing lure. They're fishing. They're trying to get you to bite on it. They're trying to get you to accept this incredibly open-ended representation of something that might be your name and might not. And they owe it to you, if they're going to bring a charge against you, to actually name you. Okay? So you're going to object on the basis of, no, you did not suggest to the clerk that the judge was your attorney, and you did not permit him or her to enter a plea on your behalf. You did not voluntarily do that because it's your position that the court has no jurisdiction related to you. And you don't understand. Now, this is very critical, that word. You don't understand the name of the plaintiff. You don't necessarily, it's a name similar to yours, but it isn't yours. So exactly who or what are they trying to address here? And bring up the fact that, hey, this initial could be anything. The initial P could stand for Paul, Peter, Philip, you know. So if they're trying to address you, they should address you in a forthright and honest manner, but they're never going to do that. Okay, and until they do, they're dead in the water.
The same water they threw you in, apparently, right?
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah.
If they want to play name games, you play them right back. And they will not be able to use your actual name. Oh. So at that point, these courts traditionally fall silent. There's nothing more to say. They can't name your actual name, and they can't prove what they're actually trying to address here without naming your actual name. So bye-bye.
Then you just turn on your heel and just walk out the door. That's what you do, right?
Right.
Yeah, we shouldn't walk in the first place. We can take care of most of these things in writing, friends. So,
Right. But
yeah.
keep in mind that
Hmm.
the clerk is the one who's acting as the trustee, and they're appointing the judge to act in his position. And the
Hmm.
prosecutor is actually acting as a contractor who is independently bringing charges against you at their own risk. Okay? So once you have it straight in your mind who's who, then you can direct your correspondence to the clerk's office and hold them feet first to the fire for not recognizing you as the person uh, of the full estate name, okay, and that you have liquidated the municipal estate for cause. And, you know, why is this court continuing to misaddress you and to send out correspondence of a deceptively similar named person when
Hmm.
obviously their claims are void for vagueness?
Void for vagueness.
Right.
Yep. Well, void for vagueness is fun. It's a good one to remember. We should have t-shirts. Void for vagueness. They do that all the time, right?
Right.
All right. Anna, Juan Wade wants to know if the General Assembly requires a sheriff's seat, and considering there are no state sheriffs, can a sheriff from any county fulfill this role, or does there need to be a sheriff's committee?
Okay. Counties have sheriffs. Sheriffs are a office that is unique to the county. You only have county sheriffs. You don't have state sheriffs. Okay, you can have state militia, you can have state public safety officers, you can have state troopers operating at the state level. There are a wide variety of different kinds of offices that you can have in a state that are occupying a law enforcement office. But there are no peacekeeping offices at the state level because the greatest peacekeeping office is vested in the sheriff at the county level. Okay, so you've got the national level, and they have sheriffs in each and every county. So that covers the whole issue of who's the highest peacekeeping officer in the country? The county sheriff within the borders of his county. And as far as state officers go, you have the militia and you have whatever public safety officers you decide to elect and create. So you might have state troopers, you might have state patrol, you might have a state watch force, you might have a state. Uh, there are lots of different ways that the states have organized different kinds of police forces and functions, both as peacekeepers and as um, LEOs. But the office of sheriff in itself doesn't really have anything to do at the state level until you start getting sheriffs from each and every county in the state to operate as a peacekeeping force of its own. Okay, that can happen, but we're a long way from being there.
Mm. All right. Anna, when will our international trade bank be open so we can redeem or exchange our foreign currency at the revalued price IQD and VND? You don't have your glasses, are you? I just realized what's going on.
I could read that. I'm tired, is what I am.
Okay.
Technically, we're already open for business because we're already listed and trading on the St. Crown Exchange. Um, Now, what the upshot is going to be for the Iranian and Vietnamese currencies or the Iraqi currency, God only knows.
Hmm.
Um, you're basically going to be exchanging them for whatever the market will bear. And who knows what the market will bear? This is not something that is set by by the price of gold, for example. So you're going to be trading for them on an exchange platform, and whether you're going to be using AFD or USD or euros or whatever else you're going to be using on the other side of that exchange is only it's only limited by the exchange platform you're using. Now, our bank has got a very favorable exchange platform that allows it to um, do these sorts of exchanges, especially of foreign currencies and bonds, and get a good deal out of it. That isn't guaranteeing it will be the best deal. Um, it's a competitive situation. But always we aim to have a competitive um, service that has its own advantages. The primary advantage to doing it through your own bank is that you know that you got the exchange value of that day and you got the entire exchange value for that day. Nobody's going to be taking 80 or 90% of the profit from you or standing in judgment over you. Okay, you're just going to have a straight across the board bank exchange and exchange the dinar or the dong for their international exchange rate.
All right. Well, Anna, you're tired, and there aren't really a whole lot of other questions.
I am exhausted. I'm not just tired. I'm
Yeah.
beyond. I did want to say a few words about the situation with our new um, land patent registration office.
Yeah.
It's an online service that is now open for business. It may have some bugs yet to work out, minor things as we go, but it's set up specifically and importantly so that you have a place to publish and record your land patent interests. And in time, it will be backed up with an entire service of people that do nothing but land patenting,
Yep.
which will allow us to establish and have in the public record our own interest in our own land and in the patents and grants underlying it. Something important that people don't realize is that land is granted into existence as a um, property asset. So land is not sold the into the market. Land is granted into the market. So once it's granted forever to that person who receives the initial grant and to their inheritors forever afterward. So when you actually um, track back and claim the chain of title and um, chain of title to the underlying patent and claim the patent all the way to the original land grant, you now have possession, what's called possession of your own land and soil. So this is a very worthy endeavor for people to undertake, but it is somewhat time consuming. You have to do a chain of title research from your claim on the land today all the way back through all of its owners to the point where it enters either the land patent or the land grant system. And so especially in the East Coast, these can be rather lengthy. I mean, your land might have changed hands 30 times in the past 200 years.
Do you want to see it, Anna? Do you want me to put it up on the screen?
If you would.
Okay. Here we go. This is what it looks like, friends. Hang on, Anna. I'm not really that good at this, so let me. If you go here to the homepage, one of the things, Anna, that they were saying on, I know I'm messing this up, but the gentleman who does the land patent class,
Ron Gibson?
yeah, the Ron Gibson, they were saying that a lot of these online services wouldn't be recognized properly. But do you want to talk a little bit about how it's different because it's under the auspices of the Great Seal and the Federation and all of that?
Well, it isn't up to our employees to determine whether they recognize us or not. It's up to us to determine whether or not we recognize them. This is a basic misunderstanding that has to be cleared up. Who is in charge, the employer or the employee? Okay, this is a fundamental issue. They've been running things for so long that they think they are the bosses and that they are, somehow authorized or enabled to tell their employers what to do, how to do it, and how long. Okay, that isn't correct. Just because they've been doing it that way for a long time doesn't mean that that's the way it's done. The actual fact is that the employers, once they are awake and taking part and doing their part of the action, the employers determine these considerations. But anyway, we set up the website especially for land patenting process because you have to have um, the claim published for a minimum of 60 days. And that's hard to do.
But now it's not.
But now it's not. Now it's not. Now you can put your claim up on the screen. Oh, I've got to take this call for just a second, Niti.
Sure, sure. All right, you guys. Well, if I go to start walking you through the screen, then I can't see if Anna pops back. So I'll just kind of wait for her to come back. But we wanted to show off the website a little bit so everybody can start, everybody can see it. Oh,
and you can see the name of it. Now,
yeah.
it does come across as the Bucolic Living Law. Is
yes.
That okay, so you would look up Bucolic Living Law on the internet.
Bucolic Living Law, yeah.
And it would take you to this particular page. And this is a safe place for you to be able to publish your patent claim and be able to prove that it was, listed and published in the public for at least 60 days.
Yeah, we have this. So Anna, here is when you go in here, friends, then you would log in or join. First you join because you have to create an account. And then we have this notices board. So if you'll notice on the notices board, each of these notices are actually dated when they were uploaded. So there was a January 1st notice, there was a February. We were testing this system, and when you click on it, then it allows you to download the notice so that you can read it, and then you can open it. I don't know if it'll show it up on it. Can you see that? Oh, you can't see it. Well, it opens up a PDF. So when anyone posts a notice, Anna, then whatever information they can fit on one page, which, friends, if you really use small font, you can put a lot of information on there. Like a lot of people who want to maybe publish their declaration, and they want to have it in different places and they need it publicly done for whatever some reason. Everybody has different things that they're working on, especially the different nations around the world, or on the earth, not the world. They have different things where they need to be able to post things for different time frames. They'll be able to do that here. When you click on services, Anna, then it tells you, now it says we accept Cash App payments and Zelle and postal. Just to make a declaration is free. Anybody who is trying to, for example, upload their declaration page, it is free to do the 3-pager or the 928. It even shows you how to download your documents from TASA. Is this working? Can you see it? Yeah, you can see
Yes.
it. Okay. And so it takes you to the TASA page where they can download their documents, learn and see about how to do that. And we even have a link here that explains how to use the paperwork for free. So if they click this, it's going. See, it goes through the paperwork training course with TASA. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. And so then, but if somebody wants help, because there's some people that do want help, if you want help, then you can request help. When you create an account, it's completely free. You don't pay anything up front. We only will send you, or discuss with you something if there's something that you're asking for that requires, us to do some work on your behalf. All the public notices that people upload are time stamped, and they will be they're never going to be gone. We're going to maintain, records, and we'll have hard copies as well as the digital copy. And the digital copy is, well, I wish Greg was here right now because he needs to explain all the redundancies, because this isn't like a WordPress site. This is something that's been fully coded, and I'm going to leave it for Greg, Anna, to explain that part.
Yeah, we can go over this in more detail next week.
Yeah, hopefully he can be here for next week for that. And
you can know that it's a special service. It was especially designed so that people would have a place to publish their land patent claims,
right,
and be able to prove that they had met the statutory requirements for being posted 60 days or more, in a convenient place and convenient format, so that you're not doing things like having to go to the courthouse and make sure that your land patent claim is still on the bulletin board every single day for 60 days. I mean, crazy stuff like that has had to be done in the past, and this is a new service that makes that obsolete. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing for anybody who needs to establish a land patent.
right.
So everybody, it's not replacing the LRO, even though you can use it to, publish your declaration of political status. As you see, you can publish that, and you can publish other 928 documents for free.
Yes.
It's not replacing the LRO any more than the International Land Recording and Publishing System at the bank is replacing the LRO. And it's not. It's set up here to serve a user group. And in this case, it's the farmers and people that have land holdings that they need to publish their patent rights on.
Right. And we tried to make this, we wanted to make it as free as possible, Anna, but we're charging $10 per page to publish, because of the expense that we are incurring just with all the hardware. And I mean, we're going to keep this published and we're going to be protecting the documents for life. You need to, I mean, I thought, I don't know, Greg and I went back and forth over it and we were like, this is it actually matches the registration fees that, the de facto charges if you go
Right.
down there.
Right.
So,
And we're, charging reasonable and customary fees, okay,
mhm,
for certain services that go above and beyond, okay?
right,
But that's not an issue either. As you say, the state land recording offices and their county franchise offices charge similar fees for similar services. So,
right. And then if you scroll down below, Anna, then if somebody wants us to prepare all of their documents and upload everything and then, give them everything and send them their hard copies and witness everything and do all of that stuff, then, we do charge like notaries would, right? That's all it is. And there's, no one is obligated to use us for any of this. Okay. And then assembly services are, we wanted to make it affordable for people to do their assembly election notices. And I don't know what assemblies might want to publish. Like they may have other notices that they want to post somewhere. And so for that reason, we have what's called assembly services. So it's $50 per page for assembly election 30-day notices. Which is a far cry from what a newspaper will charge anybody. And we'll move those election notices up top because it's just a 30-day quick notice. And then $20 per page for just other assembly notices that they want to put out. We also have, Anna, an election tool. If someone wants to conduct an election through an electronic service that we have created, it allows multiple candidate positions to run per each election, and it's $80 per election, which we didn't think was very expensive to manage. Like if they're very organized and they're doing all their elections, like the American tradition might be that you start the election process in January where you announce open offices, and then you have 30 days, and then in February everybody is getting to know the nominees, and then in March they do their actual election. We can help facilitate that if they're interested, and if they're not interested in our help, they don't have to use this. But we just figured while we were building it, it was something that we could do, and it would help, because I know all of the assemblies were like, oh my gosh, it's going to cost us $10 million to publish all the offices and all the things that we have to do. And why should they have to do that? Because in a newspaper, I know around here it was going to cost upwards of $1,000 a week. So
yeah, and I keep trying to bring it forward to people. Uh, we were in a situation where they were closing land offices down. They were closing recording offices down and setting it up so that all you could ever do is register your land and give it away to the queen, okay, and put it in a public trust, okay. And that is not to your advantage. It is to your advantage to retain control of your own land. And so at one point, they had shut down almost all of the land recording offices in England. There was one land recording office left open, and it was not well advertised, and it wasn't even called a land recording office. Okay. So they were very purposefully shutting down your options to be able to publish your and record your interest in land patents and land grants. It was a purposeful scheme on the part of these government agencies to limit and restrict your ability to record your interest in your land. And so we began the LRO system so that land recording would be available to people and we started the International Land Recording and Publishing System so that it would be available to people in places like England where their ability to publish an interest in land was being unreasonably restricted. And so now this is another service where you have the option and you have the ability um, to publish your land um, patent interest. Now, if you've already published it on the LRO, fine. If you want to publish it both places and through the Global Family Group's International Land Recording System, fine. The more the merrier. The more proof that you can bring forward saying this is mine, the better. Okay. I have some of my declarations have been recorded in 23 different places just because.
The
So,
redundancies are important. You really want to have everything that you want to notice out redundantly in as many places as possible. Um, and I just, we're going to maintain physical records of whatever goes here. So if you're putting notices and things up here, then just know that we are maintaining, physical records. And then just like if you were to go back, Anna, to any, registrar's office and request a document, then, we'll pull it for you and send it to you. And it costs the same as whatever it would cost you to have them pull it and send it to you, you know.
right.
Um,
We're not here to make money. We're here to get the service done.
right.
And the only fees that are being charged are reasonable and customary fees. So um, it's just another new service, and I like it because it's got a focus on the land patents, and it can become the place where everybody goes to search and see if someone has a published land patent. Over time, this could be an invaluable service to everyone in the entire country, and it can maintain an exhaustive labeled database for land patents and grants. And so it's a really neat initiative. It's taking some of the burden off the LROs, which are um, more focused toward doing the declarations and getting people back on the land and soil. Um, and I just consider it a win-win all the way across the board that we have this wonderful new uh, land publishing service.
Thank you, Anna. We have one question that I would like to add. It's from Humble Blessings. They're saying, is it possible if Anna can go over how to create a letter of credit for a home and proof of funds? Do you know what this would be? Do you
Well,
understand the
this,
question?
this is something that the bank provides.
Okay.
Okay, letter of credit and a proof of funds comes from the bank saying, okay, yes, this person has whatever credit, and yes, we can issue a proof of funds and regarding their account that yes, they have whatever the amount is. Now, typically, what happens is that you're going to buy a property for $130,000, say. And so the bank sends a letter that basically says uh, this person has the funds available to be able to do this transaction. And it's really just that is um, letting the other bank know that yes, you have that much money on file or in the record of the bank that's issuing the letter of credit. Um, so that would be something that Global does for you. Once the funds become liquid, then they would be transferring the funds in whatever form the vendor, the seller, wanted, whether it was Federal Reserve notes or USD or euros or whatever. Um, so that would be a bank function.
Thank you, Anna. All right, go get some good sleep. Thank you so much for your time today. And we will be very excited to see you next Tuesday.
Hopefully, with my glasses on and hopefully with a good night's sleep.
Yeah, and hopefully Greg will be back and he can give us some more details.
Yeah, right. Well, this is a wonderful new system opening up. I'm really pleased to see it. And again, it is another option, another way for people to gain recording services, which is a good thing. And I look forward to a time when we all just look up our land patents on this new system and have our record right there in front of our face, in front of God and everybody, so that there's no question about who owns and possesses a piece of property.
Yeah. We're just moving on up like we always were, Anna. So thank you so much. And hey, friends, we will see you next Tuesday. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.